What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about Endgame zones in Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 2. There's been a lot of changes to zones over the course of the season. It seems like every week or every few days even, they change something about zones. We're going to be going over those changes and how you want to play in Endgame in Zero build right now. If you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful and informative, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and if you would like to use my code in the item shop, it is just EvolveJake. Like my channel name, it's underneath the webcam at all times. So there's 3 different types of zones in Fortnite at this point in time. There have been rumors of different types of zones coming in the future, but these are the 3 that we have currently. So there's the regular zones where the entirety of the new circle will be in the safe area when it pops. These are going to be zones 1 to 5. This is just your standard zone. There's partial zones. These are zones 6 and 7, where when the new circle pops, part of it is in safe area and then part of it is currently in the storm, and then as the circle closes, the area that was previously in storm opens up and becomes playable. These are going to be zone 6 and 7, and these are called partial zones, or half and half is what a lot of players refer to them as. We have had these in the past, but it was later in the game, and it would usually be a smaller half and half before moving zones. And then moving zones are the final type of zones we have currently, where the new circle will be entirely in storm, and then the zone progresses towards that essentially, and then it stops. And this is going to be zones 8 to 12 are going to be the moving zones. They will pull into storm. You'll have a brief period to wait, and they'll pull to a new area. And then I believe after zone 12, eventually it just closes completely, and then there is no safe area anymore. So there's been a lot of updates to storm this season, like I was saying, and the biggest recent changes have been to those partial zones 6 and 7. I said we had half and half a long time ago, or in the past, but this season, they essentially did away with that, and the partial zones we had, 6 and 7, were like 90% safe area and 10% storm, and it just didn't really matter how you played it because the area that was in storm didn't really change that much because you had already a large safe area. Now it is more closer to 50-50, and it's closer to half and half. This is one of the things they changed somewhat recently. So when you get to zone 6 and 7, half of it will be playable area, and then half of it will be storm, and once the storm closes, that part that was previously in storm will open up and clear up, and then it'll be a safe area. And this really changes how you want to play the game, because you need to take advantage of that area that opens up oftentimes, because with only a small portion that starts out as safe area and everybody kind of needing to rotate to that area becomes super congested. So if there's any position of advantage, like a building, a hill, or just a good piece of cover in general that's in the storm when circle starts, but it clears up eventually, getting to that power position and controlling it first is often how you will win the game, and it just makes it so much easier because a lot of players will just be scrambling to get into zone in general, and they won't really worry about getting to that safe area that just opened up. And then also another thing that makes this really nice is that you know that nobody's there already. If you're the first person there, if you're there just as storm is opening for that part, then you know you don't really have to expect any other players in that area. When half and half opens, I like to get to that part that's like initially safe, the first phase of the safe area. I like to get there right away and then try to get to that power position, like I said, as soon as it opens up. A lot of players wait until the last possible second to rotate to zone. They like wait until it forces them. So that initial area that started out being safe is going to be very congested oftentimes. So just keep that in mind. And there will be times where late rotating is, beneficial, but there's also times where getting to like the deeper part of zone first is very beneficial as well, because the area is going to be super congested. If the lobby is very stacked and very populated, that ideal position or that power position in that specific zone might not be worth going for, because it's likely going to be pretty contested, and then you're also not going to end the game on that zone anyways. And this is how playing in games with moving zones and partial zones really develops. You need to just keep putting yourself in an ideal or okay position zone to zone, and once the lobby gets, dead enough to the point where you getting a power position means that you can hold the rest of the players and win the game, that's when you want to do so. For most public matches, this is going to happen in zone 6 or 7. If you have a more populated game for whatever reason, or just in competitive, you might not be able to win the game off first partial or second partial. You might need to go into the movings. But for a lot of zero build public matches, the games end in the first partial zone or the second partial zone. But just keep in mind that if the lobby is very populated, you don't need to fight for the ideal positioning necessarily. Like, you don't want to put yourself in a terrible spot, but you're not going to win the game off the good spot anyways. And that's really what it comes down to. You need to stay alive, make it to safe areas in zone, and stay kind of safe until the point where you're going to win the game oftentimes. Because, like, if you go to that ideal spot and fight for it, and then somebody else is able to come in and just third party you, it's not great. But if you're able to get there first and it's like hold the rest of the players, it'll be a really easy game for you to win. What you really want to avoid is having fights when you aren't in the safe area at all. Obviously, this will happen at some point in time. You can't, play perfect all of the time. Not everything in this game goes as planned. But if moving, or if half and half is like kind of moving, which means like the area that was previously not safe is becoming safe, and then that area that was outside the zone before is quickly becoming unsafe, fighting in that like outside of zone area is not great at all, because the people that get to the new safe area of zone are going to have like the easiest time holding you. You're just like basically fighting for a piece of territory that isn't worth having anyways. So these fights will happen from time to time, like I said, but you don't want to force these fights to happen. If it's a 1v1, all you really have to do is locate the other player and eliminate them. Getting to zone first and holding them makes it super easy, but when there's several players left alive, forcing a fight like this often isn't the best thing to do. I think the thing a lot of players struggle with is like they get nervous and they get, scared, they're uncomfortable in game. And then these zones are also something that's unique. Like, you don't get to these zones every game. And even if you win games somewhat consistently, it doesn't always go deep into these moving zones. So there's people that have won several games that don't really get to this point in the game because it doesn't happen too frequently in zero build. So people get nervous and scared, and then they just start like fighting whatever they see because they're kind of overwhelmed. But I think it's best to just think about Endgame, where you consistently put yourself in the best spot in zone over and over and over again until you can win the zone, or until you can win the game. You don't need to try to force the game and to end in zone 6 if it's going to end easily in zone 7. You know what I mean? Like, there's no point in playing like a psychopath that late in the game and just keying everything. And this is something that a lot of build players are probably already used to, because in build mode, a lot of games have gone to half and half or gone to moving zones for many years. Like, they initially added moving zones, I believe, in season 5, which would have been in like 2018. So build players are used to this, and there were moving zones and half prior to this season, but you just didn't get there that frequently in zero build because people couldn't, just exist for as long. Like, the zone would just kind of force people to die out because there wouldn't be that much cover. Whereas in build mode, when you could build cover anywhere you wanted, a lot of those players are kind of used to going to half and half and used to going to moving zone. So I feel like a lot of players who play build mode just kind of are very used to this concept. But if you're someone who came in for zero build, the half and half and moving zones can be very complicated because it's just a complete kind of mentality shift. Usually people are going around fighting and just trying to eliminate the other players. But once it gets to moving zones and once it gets to half and half, the player who controls the area that opens up or controls like the new power positions in zone is often going to be the player that wins the game. And there's not too much that can be done about it in some cases. Like, you could have a much worse player that plays zone properly beat a much better player just because of how things play out. But I hope you guys found this video helpful or informative. If you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more. Use code EvolveJake if you would like to support me. And like I said, it's super easy. You just need to stay calm and consistently put yourself in the right positions over and over again, and then you'll eventually win the game. Like, Endgame is more about not making mistakes than it really is like making like really, really good plays. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.